I call this March 17th, 2025 meeting of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors to order. Mr. Barlow?
I move that we convene in closed session pursuant to the following subsections of Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711. In accordance with Section 2.2, 3711A5, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry in the Mountain Road and Mineral Districts where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's intent in locating and expanding its facilities in the community. And two, in accordance with Section 2.2, 3711A8, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that we go into closed session. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We're in closed session.
We go back into open session.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we go back into open session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I will now poll members to certify that, to the best of your knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and as identified in the motion for which the closed meeting was convened were discussed and considered by the board. If any member believes the board varied from the purposes stated for the closed meeting, please state so and the reason prior to casting a vote. Mr. McCotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Yes. Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
All right, we are back into open session. This is Monday, March 17, 2025, meeting of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to welcome those of you who are in attendance here in the public meeting room, those who are watching online. We will start the meeting tonight, as we do with every meeting, which is with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be led by Mr. McCotter. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
Let us pray. Father, I humbly ask for your guidance and for your discernment as we do the business of Louisa County and serve our constituents. May God bless this meeting, this county, its staff, and its citizens as we gather tonight. Thank you for the blessing of a people who care deeply about this community. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is the adoption of the agenda. I know we do have an addition.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to add under the consent agenda, a resolution authorizing renewal of the health and dental and vision insurance for the county and the schools. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we approve the consent, we adopt the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the bills.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we approve the bills. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the consent agenda as amended.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is our recognitions. We do have a recognition this evening. We are congratulating Candace LaFonte for winning the 2025 Louisa County Spelling Bee Contest. And Candace, I'm sure you're probably sitting where I can't see
Yeah,
you.
she's sitting right there.
Right there behind the...
She's from my district.
So, Candace, did you bring anybody with you?
Her mom.
You want your mom to come up here too? I'm sure she's proud.
Very proud.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, members of the public, this is a resolution congratulating Cadence LaFontaine for winning the 2025 Louisa County Spelling Bee Contest. Whereas the Louisa County Board of Supervisors finds it fitting and appropriate to recognize individuals that have distinguished themselves through significant personal achievement. And whereas the board is pleased to recognize Miss Cadence LaFontaine, who recently honored her family, her classmates, and her school by winning the 2025 Louisa County Spelling Bee Contest. And whereas Cadence's triumph came after 8 rounds of competition that lasted approximately 72 minutes, where she made her way through the championship word bureau to take the title of Spelling Bee Champion. And whereas beginning in early November and continuing through December, all 4 elementary schools in the division, as well as Louisa County Middle School, hosted their own school-level bees for 3rd through 8th grade students, and students who finished as the 1st or 2nd place speller in their grade level qualified for the Division B. And whereas Cadence is a 7th grade student at Louisa County Middle School and is the daughter of Adele and Carl LaFontaine. And whereas Cadence's success at the local spelling bee allows her to advance to the 51st annual Richmond Times-Dispatch Regional Spelling Bee Contest, where she'll have the opportunity to compete against the best and the brightest young spellers in the region. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Louisa County Board of Supervisors hereby extends enthusiastic congratulations to Cadence LaFontaine for winning the 2025 Louisa County Spelling Bee with best wishes for continued success as she participates in the 51st Annual Richmond Times-Dispatch Regional Spelling Bee. Congratulations, ma'am. I would invite the chairman forward to present your resolution.
I was there that night, and it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So, one of my favorite events, I have not missed one since I've been on board, is the spelling bee contest. So, it's exciting. And I know you're very proud as her mother. Louisa County is very proud of you. The Board of Supervisors is very proud of you. So, on behalf of the board, we wish you luck in the regional spelling bee. We're not going to ask you to spell anything here this evening. Congratulations. Right there, and we're all smiling. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Give this young lady another.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say that I'm very proud because she hails from the Green Springs District. And yes, and she also is a very proud 4-H'er and a young equestrian, and very proud of that.
Won't make anybody here at the dais spell equestrian because.
Oh, she could, I'm sure.
All right, next up is our public comment period. During public comment, this is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board about any matter that's on their mind, with the exception of anything that is a public hearing. We do have 4 public hearings tonight. One of them is on the assessment, so if you're here to talk about the assessment, wait till that public hearing. I do have a couple cards. When you come to the podium, make sure you use your microphone, state your name and your voting district. You'll have 3 minutes. I will give you a warning when you have 15 seconds left. The first card I have is Amy Ware.
Good evening, Amy Ware, Jackson District. I'm here on behalf of the Louisa County Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. Just see on the agenda tonight, we've got the skate park, which is incredibly exciting for all of us on the commission. We've been waiting, and I know some of you board members have as well. It was promised to be put back when it had to be removed, the public structure that people had donated and built. So you have your presentation before us. We did our best to come up with a plan, but Mr. Smith consulted experts, thankfully, because I don't skate, and I don't think many of the commission do. But we think it's a good plan, and certainly are counting on y'all's support, and appreciate the staff and everybody, Mr. Smith, and I think Mr. Coons worked really hard to get it quickly to you all after we voted. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next card is Vicki Hart.
Vicki Hart, Town of Louisa, Louisa District. I'm here to talk to you today about the emergency warming shelters and ask why we have to have a state of emergency declared in order to utilize those in the suggested formatting. If we declare a state of emergency in this county, why are not the schools or other facilities open for warming? Because it's not just our homeless population, it's also our residents that do not have heat. So that is my question for you. Why require a state of emergency? And if you do require a state of emergency, why are county facilities not available? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So I don't have any other cards for anybody that wishes to speak during public comment period. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak during the public comment period? All right, none, seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next, under information and discussion items, is the update on Firefly, and I see Mr. Gary Wood from Firefly here. Gary, always good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir, and we'll give you a quick update. I have Galen Creekmore with me from Firefly and CVC, and we have a couple of folks from our lead grant partners at the Thomas Jefferson Planning District who are here, making sure we say the right things. So,
Is that what they're doing here?
there you go.
Now we know.
So let's see, do we have a
Clicker's right up here, Gary, top left. Yep.
There you go. Yes, so we're doing well in Louisa County. Glad to come here and give you a quick update. If you remember, we've been back a couple times. We started with a little corner of this map blue, and one of the questions was, how do we turn the rest of the map blue? And each time we come back, there's more blue. The blue represents places where we either have finished our first pass through completely and are just connecting people. We still connect people whenever they apply in the homes that don't have service. There are also some where we have started connections, but we have not finished all the first connections. We have finished, though, all of the construction activities. The fiber's up, everything's spliced, and we're just doing connections. So we're finishing up a few connections in a couple of Ellisville circuits, and we're really active in the Cuckoo circuits right now. That doesn't mean that these other areas we're not, again, continuing to connect people, but the blue areas all have active services where we've finished construction. We're just putting in that final drop. The green areas have fiber construction going on, and most of the fiber is in most of those areas. It has not necessarily been, the splicing hasn't been started in those areas. So in the last circuit of Cuckoo, we're finishing up make ready. Some fiber is going in, but that fiber will go in mainly in the next month or two. We've got a little bit, the last time I heard, we should finish up make-ready construction this month in March. So things are moving along very well. Some of the other areas come off the Dominion Middle Mile project. Dominion's been a good partner, and they have finished their work and turned it over to us, and we're putting in underground and laterals, and we'll be connecting those folks soon. So that's a picture of where we have people in service. There's a couple of little pink areas where we're still doing a little data collection, and we'll have some little projects to add those in soon. We've got to finish this soon, so not many of those left. All right. Here's in words instead of the pictures. In service, Buckner, Mount Hope, Shannon Hills substations from Rappahannock Electric. We have finished all the first connections, first pass through. The Dominion Handback Road, Spring Hill area, we also finished. We are connecting and are mostly finished in the Ellisville circuits. We still have a little more to go in the biggest Ellisville circuit up toward the lake, I think. But we're making really good progress there. The Boswell's Tavern area of Dominion Middle Mile, we're connecting folks in, and then in Cuckoo in those first couple of circuits, 3 circuits. And those are the circuit names. Again, you can look back at the map, and we'll talk at the end about the website where anybody can get specific information about their location. But just in a broad topic area, 3 out of the 4 Cuckoo circuits, Cuckoo substation circuits are underway with connections now, and the splicing is complete. We have the last Cuckoo circuit, and then a couple of these Dominion Middle Mile areas that we'll be connecting soon. Those are the ones that are in green. So we have 8,550 Firefly connections today, active connections in Louisa County. That's a pretty good number. We're in front of about 14,500 locations. So of that, the people who've chosen service, and we've connected about 8,550. If you run the math, that's about a 60% take rate. We're probably actually in front of a few more in terms of having service available, but some of these numbers are moving day to day, so it's hard to get a real good tight number, but that's pretty close. We do anticipate finishing up with about 11,000 connections based on people who've already pre-registered. We will have service available to 17,374 passings from this VADI 2022 project and the work we did before in the Central Virginia area and the CARES projects. This doesn't include 2024. We'll talk about that in a minute, another little project. And we have a picture of our handsome new fiber hut that is at Cuckoo. This was the last fiber hut we need to build in the county. The huts are the main nodes that we go out from to carry data and bring it back and go from there to the internet. This one's in Cuckoo, and we put it in service in November?
Mid-November.
Mid-November. So here's a few statistics. Again, we're going to be in front of about 17,500 homes and businesses. We've got about a little under 1,500 miles of fiber we'll be building. The total investment by our calculation was pretty specific here, because that's the way you have to do budgets. I will tell you that just glancing at the numbers today, it looks like we have over $75 million invested already. So we will probably be on the upward side of 85, probably closer to 90 by the time we finish this. But that we will put in what it takes to do the work we need to do. Anytime we do an estimate, we understand that costs can go up or down, and we don't come back and ask for more grant funds. It's our job to get that done. Part of the reason it's a little higher is we're getting a few more people connected, and that means extra services, which also costs. So we're happy with that. The original CVC and CARES projects were 14 million. This last piece, the big project outside the CVC area, was almost $70 million, and that includes the county's contributions and match, and the state contributions and state funds. So we really appreciate the support. You can see that you're bringing a lot of investment into the county, and I hope that the citizens are seeing a lot of value out of that. And then quickly, the VADI 2024 project, which we were just granted at the end of last year, we finished the paperwork for. We're still finishing up maps online so we can show everybody exactly who's in it. That has another 434 locations and about 16 miles of fiber, and it's another $1.5 million. A lot of this is, we do have about 16 miles we're building, but we have a lot of areas where we're just putting in services off of locations where we're already going past, but they weren't originally identified as unserved. So since then, the incumbent providers who once claimed service to them last year said, we really don't serve those, so we picked them up in our grant and served them. And this is a little picture of what that looks like. Instead of large swaths of area like we'd had before with big, everything turns blue or green, all those little red dots are individual homes. And there's 434. Not in this picture, because when you zoom out, they start getting together and being bigger dots. But there are 434 specific homes and businesses that are included. And there is that one little area down there of red, a couple little areas. That's where the extra fiber will be built. So we will pick up every location that we knew of last year when this grant application went in. Now, since then, there's been another round of mapping and another review of locations. And I understand there are like 3 or 4 more that are not served, and there are people who are going to have to BEAD funding to serve those 3 or 4. We did not go after BEAD funding because we're already going to serve several of those because the maps aren't accurate. And we didn't see the need to chase down. There were 1 or 2 at the end of Subdivision Road where an incumbent already has an internet option available. And we didn't see the reason to ask for grant funds to run all the way through a subdivision for one extension at the back. And the providers there probably will pursue BEAD funding and get those. So we will get to everyone. We'll make sure that all the unserved locations are served by the time we finish with this, plus that 1 or 2 in the BEAD area. And by the way, if BEAD doesn't work out, I'm sure we're not that far away. We'll find a way to get them connected. Real quickly again, for the folks online or here, we do have a really good online website that lets you search by your county under projects, and you can find out the updates on any service areas. If you're not sure whether you are in any of our service areas, you can click on the check availability and put in your address, and it shows you whether or not you're in an area and gives you up-to-date information on when you can expect service if you don't already have it. So we're continuing to move as quickly as possible. We have a lot of folks still working around Louisa, but a lot of them are doing service drops now, and a lot of the construction is wrapped up. We'll quit bothering your roads with the folks on the side putting in underground fiber and working on the poles soon. Our project was supposed to finish by August of this year. We will likely ask for an extension for the overall project in May. That's the last time we can ask for an extension. We will probably be into next year in a couple of areas, including we just were reassigned 3 areas that were held back from us, and they just hand them to us and said, okay, finish those 2. So that's in Campbell and Greene and Madison County. So we'll certainly need an extension for them. So you'll see us ask for an extension, but that doesn't mean we're slowing anything down. It doesn't mean that Louisa will go into next year, other than maybe a few connections. We're going to get to your main construction this year and most of your connections just as fast as we can. We're connecting about, I think last week we had 250 services that went in. We're trying to run a pace of about 250 a week. We slowed down a lot in January and February because of the ice and snow. We were down to about 100 to 125 a week. But we've ramped back up with good weather, and we're going to keep going until we get it finished. Thank you for the support and for everything the county's done to with the match, but also just with the moral support of realizing that it takes a little while and helping us carry that message that we're on the way, and we're going to provide a great service when we get there. That's my update. Any questions?
Mr. Barlow.
Well, first off, I certainly, the part of Mountain Road District that you've gotten covered, we're thoroughly pleased with, and you've been the catalyst for all of it. If looking at your map down in the Gum Springs interchange area,
Yes.
I just sent a constituent a text to see if they've gotten covered. And they're right in behind the BP station, and I thought they were getting connected last fall. Is there any update as to when the plan is to connect those people?
So there's a little green area down there, and I don't think I can blow this up, but and I can get you more information individually tomorrow if you want to get the address. But there's a little area that was connected off of our RUS Reconnect grant-funded project. That was a little different funding, and it ran on a little different schedule, and that's a little green area that's right off the Gum Spring exit, and I think that's what was included here. And in that case, we just started the splicing in that project. Oddly enough, the federal funded projects run a little slower, have more hoops to jump through in terms of getting contracts approved and those types of things. But we are connecting that fiber, all the fibers in place. We're making the splices. So this one shows it's under construction. I don't think we've spliced all the way up to that location yet, but it should be coming soon. That feed actually will come out of one of our Goochland lines, but it should happen soon.
I think it's actually a Dominion line right there where most of it's been REC.
Right,
And,
right. And the little pink area there is Dominion, and that is served off another piece of the Dominion Middle Mile that we haven't started construction in. We're still finishing some data collection, and that'll be underway soon. So those two were a little different, being down in the corner for different reasons because they were on Dominion and parts of different grants, but we're getting to them.
Well, you've done a great job so far with everybody else, but that one little corner,
I know.
I'm still getting calls on that one.
I told Galen earlier tonight that you can pick any location, and if there's and we have some really small ones in here with literally 1 or 2 homes, there's a good chance if there are 2 homes, one of them knows a supervisor. So.
I think more than one of them.
But we haven't ignored them. We're going to get to all of those. And those are, the green area down at the bottom again is, we're splicing in that whole reconnect project that's in Goochland and a piece of Louisa. The fiber's in place, we'll get them connected, but it'll take a little longer to get there, and then the pink area a little longer after that. There aren't many of those pink and green areas here, so that's good news.
I think they're actually in that, possibly that little white area that's sort of between the pink and the green.
Well, if they've gotten a mailing from us, they should be in one of the colors. But I will check. Tomorrow, we'll get, if you can get Mr. Barlow's contact, and we'll check specifically.
Thank you.
All right?
Mr. Barnes?
Yeah, you're my favorite guy. But realistically, first of all, I want to thank the citizens of Louisa for supporting us in this investment
Yes.
that it took to do this.
Yes.
Second, I want to thank this body, this board. Being one of the oldest and wisest on this board, I remember when we first started talking about high-speed internet, and it was to take years to get this done.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, you talk about this all the time. How long have we been doing this project here now?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. And had we not moved at the pace that we did, we would be way behind, and our kids would be still at McDonald's using the high-speed internet and parked on the different churches and stuff using the high school program. Mm-hmm. But I want to thank you for that. Secondly, Doc, did we get you covered? Okay, I got a constituent.
Right here.
I'm being selfish. I got a constituent that's coming off the Dominion. It's a Dominion customer.
Walnut Church Road,
Walnut
Gary, is what
Church
they're
Road.
trying to say. So.
And been waiting patiently and understandably for high-end internet. I don't know high-speed internet. And I don't know where you are with the Dominion.
So the area up there, if you
everybody
can
mark
see
it
on
right
the
there.
sign that is listed as Old CC Road, which is some Dominion areas. And, right, there are 3 different ones. That was a piece that was a little slower because the way we feed the Dominion piece, we bring light in through the either Central Virginia or Rappahannock system on the fiber, and then tie into Dominion where we lease their fiber, and then out. More detailed than you want to know. But the piece of fiber we had built through the CVEC area that was to connect those, when we finally when Dominion turned over their fiber, we sent splicers up, and they noted that there was no light in the area that was supposed to be light, and so they started tracing it back, and we had multiple locations with gunshot damage in that fiber. So we had to
Talk to all you hunters out there, see?
so we had to go back and replace some large sections of that fiber in order to get light back up to that. And that took several months to trace down because those are hard to find sometimes. And you have to do some tracing with light sources from different ends and things. So that delayed us a little bit. I apologize for that. We do have that repaired now. We are splicing in the old CC Road area, but that is, for that specific one, that's part of the problem. And I'm not saying that to try to buy more time. That's just, that's really what.
See, Gary, sometimes you have members of media that know all your supervisors, so, you know.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Woodward.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
I have 2 areas to ask you about in the Louisa District. The first one is just west of town off of Range Road.
Uh-huh.
And as I understood it in last year, we're trying to figure out a way to get y'all's equipment over on the other side of the railroad, the north side of the railroad tracks. It's just west of Range Road. There are probably 3 or 4 houses there.
Okay.
Right across from where the cemetery is, if you know where I'm
All right. I will, I know, I don't know specifically in terms of where our fiber is there. I know where you're talking about, so I can.
Yeah, if
I
you
can
just
get
check,
some-
I'd
yes.
appreciate it. The other one is in the town of Louisa. the fiber was put in under the ground behind Pizza Hut last year, or a
Okay.
little over a year ago. And I actually checked last week on your website, and mine had gone from, I don't know, 20% or whatever it was to 0. So I called, and the lady said, well, y'all have been put back. So I'm not sure what the deal is.
I will look at that. I am thinking, and I shouldn't speak when I'm thinking, I should wait and go do a little research, but in some of these areas, we put the fiber in anticipating when Dominion would hand over.
This is
things.
REC.
Oh, this REC.
That's only part of it.
Let me look, because we had some areas of REC,
Yeah, if you
where
could just let me
I
know
will,
that one as
I
well.
will.
Yeah.
Yep, let me look at that one.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. McConkey.
Mr. Wood, thank you for coming here tonight with that report. I always like to have a good positive about county taxpayer investment.
Yes.
$2 million a year, $9 million a year totally, to get a service which is considered invaluable, not only for quality of life, for any number of things, education, just streaming, if that's something that people want to do. Then Firefly has obviously made Louisa County a better place to live, work, and play. So thank you for that. And thank you, supervisors, for your foresight, for your investment, and taxpayers for allowing us to do that. Question for you, as a Cuckoo District Supervisor, I see a large swath of green on Spring Road. I've had some constituents ask, do we know, is there an impediment that's holding you all up there? Or just, that's the way it's in
There's
the
not.
queue?
That was, when the Make Ready crews and the fiber crews go in, they work usually in 2 circuits at a time, so they start in a couple of circuits. This circuit just happened to be the one that got the last, but we don't select those circuits, to be honest. I don't select them, the Rappahannock folks, and they do it partly based on how much work there is in certain areas and different things, or if they have other projects going on in an area. So we are working in that now, but there was no delay other than that's when we got to them.
Thank you.
All right. And we should be finishing up that Make Ready again this month. So that doesn't mean they'll be connected next month, but we'll have another month or 6 weeks of fiber installation to get the aerial in. And then you're probably looking at another month or 2 of splicing before we're into connections, but we will be there soon.
Any other questions? Mr. Wood, thank you. Thank you for your update. I say this every time you're here is, I think you and I first met in 2016, and I told you about my thoughts, and you told me about yours, and I'll never forget asking you, do you really think this will work? And you said, well, I'm betting my job on it, and you're still here.
Still got my
And
job.
Still got your job. And, I know it is frustrating for people who are still waiting. We've always talked about the angriest person in Louisa County will be that last house that gets hooked up with fiber. But, 5 years ago, the solution was 40 years away.
Yeah.
Right now, the solution's 10, 12 months away for the entire county to be finished. And your vision and Firefly's vision have impacted not only a lot of people in Louisa, but in Central Virginia. I want to say thank you for that. And White Galen's here in front of his boss. Thank you for always being responsive when I send you an email when my constituents have a question. And I mean, that's what makes it easy to work with you all. You're honest with us. You're straightforward. You get back to us quickly. If it's going to be a week, you tell us it's going to be a week. If it's going to be 5 months, you tell us it's going to be 5 months. And I appreciate that honesty. But you've done a tremendous service to people in Louisa County.
Well, the decisions that Louisa made and when you made them, and you're stepping forward quickly, has put you far ahead of a number of counties that are close by that still have 0 folks connected from when they started. So we have come a long way. We've been very serious about it. Our partners have been very serious with Rappahannock and Dominion, and we are getting to people just as quickly as we can. I've told everyone we don't receive the grant funds until we expend the money, and we don't receive anything to pay our bills until we connect people. So our whole intent is to get people connected absolutely as fast as possible. We don't they actually don't write us the grant fund check and we take off for vacation. That's not the way this works. So,
Well, thank you
All
very
right.
much. We
Thank you.
appreciate
All
it. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right. Now, under new business action items, the first is a resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding between the County of Louisa and Amazon Data Services for the operation and maintenance of South Anna Dam number 23. Mr. Wade.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening. Resolution is twofold for you tonight. The first part is acceptance of South Anna Dam number 23. Dam number 23 encompasses a dam and a flood mitigation impoundment. It's located off 33 directly across from Northeast Creek Reservoir on that property there. Second part is to enter into a memorandum of understanding for operations and maintenance of the dam with Amazon Data Services, Inc. This will ensure compliance with local, state, and federal regulations governing those dams to include proper function and structural integrity of the dam itself. The MOU will allow Amazon to contract directly with their vendor of choice to ensure that the annual maintenance and upkeep is done in compliance with those regulations. The Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water Conservation District is currently the owner of dam number 23. They are more than willing to unload this this dam and have characterized it as a benefit to their organization. So they're well aware of this, and we've been working with them for several months now on that. The dam easement transfer is subject to approval by the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is the equivalent of the DCR on the federal level. So if approved tonight, this request will go to the NCRS for further approval. Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water is represented by the State Attorney General's Office. They will be handling the transfer documentation of the dam to the county if approved, and they will coordinate with the NCRS on that transfer. Next steps, if you approve tonight, I'll send this resolution to the State Attorney General's Office. He will coordinate with NCRS. Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water will do the same, an equivalent resolution or letter that will then accompany this resolution to NCRS for their consideration. And then upon approval by NCRS, if approved, we will execute the transfer documentation and this MOU at a date after the approval from NCRS. That concludes my remarks. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Bartlett.
Just one question. What is the reason that this transfer of easement is not being done directly to AWS as opposed to coming to the county?
Yeah, we started there, Mr. Barlow, and the NCRS was, because the county has existing dams and impoundments that they own and service within Louisa County, they were more comfortable with the locality being the owner than a private entity being the owner. And that was really the genesis or the basis of why we veered from that decision to the county becoming the owner and entering into this maintenance agreement with AWS.
I thought maybe that was the case. It would seem, though, that since AWS is the landowner, it would be much more direct if they were the easement holder as well, or rather than the Louisa County being in the middle of it. But I suspect it's got state and federal regulations that dictate that.
It does. And they are the current landowner, and Thomas Jefferson is the current easement owner. So we're just replacing Thomas Jefferson.
Any other questions?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Next is a resolution approving the honorary road naming application for 2024. Mr. Kuhn.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the I have one update in your packet, page 52 to 72. You'll see the one and only application we received for it's Samuel Nelson Drew, which we'll need to update that in the resolution. I had inadvertently put Nelson Estru, but it is Samuel is his first name. This is a well-deserving individual. It was the only application we got, as well as in coordinating with the nominating organization. My understanding from Supervisor Woodward and others is that they would like this to be in front of the high school. But of course, if the board moves for approval today, we will have to file applications with VDOT and just get that approval permitted and move forward from there. And I stand ready to answer any questions.
Mr. Marlowe.
The only question I had when reading through it, I did not see any designation of where the road, what was being presented. Mr. Woodward did say it was right in that area, which is fine for me, but if we're gonna do it, then I think we need to stipulate that, in other words, where it is gonna be.
So with this, we will try and get it as close as the nominating organization would like, since they are compensating the signs and everything, but we'll still have to go through VDOT for ultimate approval. So we'll just try and get as close to that section that we can, but ultimately the board can't choose exactly where the signs go, because we'll have to go through VDOT for ultimate approval, and then the organization will be the ones compensating the contractor for the signs and installation.
I guess what is the, in other words, if it goes back to VDOT and they choose some totally different place, it does not come back to the board or anything?
My understanding is that it would not be a significant move. It may be a couple feet, 10 to 30, depending on curvature and stuff like that. It would not be a substantial shift from where the signs are located based on the, mile-long strip that we're discussing. So, and we had talked about that with Scott in length while we were getting the honorary road name and policy and application squared away before we received applications.
Mr. Woodward.
Just so everybody knows, I realize that where we're looking to locate this is the mineral district. Talked to our chairman, and he suggested that I make the motion. He is, we'll find out when he votes, but I think he's all in favor of it and actually suggested the site. So I'd like to move that we go forward with the honorary naming of the road in the vicinity of the high school and middle school in honor of Samuel Nelson.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. Well, I guess you're staying here. Approved contracts. Next resolution is approved contracts for skate park ramps and fencing at the Betty Queen Center.
Sure, Chairman, members of the board, what we have before you today is fencing in the amount of $21,170, as well as skate ramps in the value of $90,016. And then the one variable that we have right now is concrete and usage improvements. We have some concrete work that we'd like to do a foot-long strip along the fencing to allow not having to weed eat on the exterior of it, just help for long-term maintenance. And the reason why it's such a broad range is because if our crew does the framing for the concrete work, it'll be substantially lower, it'll be closer to $25,000. If the contractor has to do the framing as well as the pouring, it's going to end up being closer to the top end. So that's kind of where we're at right now, but still we believe that the not to exceed amount should be $160,000. And the request has come from the Parks and Rec, Parks Maintenance and Enhancement Fund, which the current budget or the current balance is $457,923. So there's still a healthy amount in there to accomplish this.
Mr. Kuhn, do you know off the top of your head, because I can't remember exactly, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but so when the original skate park was torn down to make way for the trailers for the Department of Health, the board at that time said when those trailers were moved back that they would rebuild the skate park. How long has that been? Do you know?
The trailers for VDH, so VDH has been in the new building since December of 23, but those modular units didn't get moved till about June, and we actually still have one on site that we're using for program space. But so it's been a little more than 7 months since they were moved for us to get to this point.
No, I mean, when was the original skate park taken down?
I couldn't tell you off the top of
Do
my
you
head.
know, Mr. Barnes? Do you remember?
I think it was 13.
I think it's been close to 15 years, so this is following up on something that was promised back to the community 15 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it did take us a couple months from the time we got the trailers and modular units removed from VDH until we got to this point today.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve this plan that's submitted.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Next is a resolution authorizing the Department of Fire and EMS to apply for a Rescue Squad Assistance Fund grant for the purchase of medical pumps. And I'm going to say video equipment because I don't think I can pronounce that
I was
word.
going to say the same thing. So this is a request for Fire and EMS to apply for a Rescue Squad Assistance Grant for medication pumps and video larginoscopes. This is
The
equipment that will
scope
be
that goes
very...
down your throat.
I guess so. I know it's not right. I tore it up. But this is equipment that they would be able to use and it would be state of the art and help them do a better job with what they do. So the cost is $96,000, but the grant would pay for half, $48,000 if they're awarded, and then the county would pay for the match if they were awarded. I'm ready to answer any questions.
And I also see the fire chief's here if anybody has any questions.
She might could say it better than me.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that we authorize this resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am. Next up is committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I think, Mr. Woodward, you have one?
I do, Mr. Chairman. It's not actually a committee report, but we didn't know where else to discuss this. So, the town of Louisa has reached out to the county and is asking for some limited technical support from our staff on zoning. And reviewing their zoning and maybe potentially helping them update what they have. And it's felt like that we probably as a board should vote on that situation. So with that being said, I'd like to make the motion that we approve for our county staff to work with the town of Louisa on any zoning updates that they may have.
Second.
Any discussion? I do have a comment that I'd like to add to that if anybody else does. So Mr. Woodward and I are on that work group that had met with them, and the town of Mineral and the town of Louisa both operate separately than the county. They have their own town councils. Ms. Hart's on the town council here in the town of Louisa. They have their own planning commissions. They have their own zoning that's separate from the county. But also what happens in the towns, whether they build apartments or they build townhouses or they put 14 homes on a small lot in Mineral, impacts the county because their children go to county schools. They use the sheriff's department. They use county fire and EMS department. So the impact is also, matter of fact, most of the financial impact is on the county because they utilize county services. So it would appear that it's a good idea to have a more cooperation between the towns and the county. Again, they're separate sometimes by the very nature of the town. Their goals are going to be a little bit different than the county goals, but in a lot of instances, we can work together, and the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. So I'm fully supportive of your motion, and I think it will serve the citizens of the county well. Having said that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
brief report, Parks and Rec Committee. We already passed the skate park. That was at our committee meeting. But the Parks and Rec Committee is going to put some numbers together. The Girl Scout building, the Christian, give me a name.
Henson Building.
The Henson Building. It's been used for a lot of things, but over the years, it has gone down. Insulation is an issue. and things of that nature. So they're going to come before us in the future with a plan to fix that building. It used to be used for reading some time ago. Then the Girl Scouts use it, and different organizations use it, and they want to look at that. And last, they want to make sure that we're discussing that even though the county's growing, our Parks and Rec staff and facilities haven't grown at the same level in which the county's grown. So they're going to put together some things to bring back for the board to look at for future projects.
Any other committee
I
reports?
have one.
Yes, ma'am.
As we all know, we have a very active chamber here in our community, and they're always out doing things. And today they asked me just to remind people about a few upcoming events. Some of you, I have not gone there yet, but the Lion's Den, I hear, is a really awesome new restaurant. Yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up back there and some smiles. And they're going to have a ribbon cutting on March the 26th at 3:30 to 4:30. So they would love to have the community out to support that. And I can't wait for my husband and I to check that out. And then the Early House has their 25th anniversary coming up, so they wanted everyone to be aware of that. That's on April 4th at 4 p.m. We just had the spelling bee up here, the National Civics Bee. Is going to be held at the high school on April the 8th, and there's many events to check out that she has listed here, but I would highly recommend you check out their website and become familiar. There's an event in May that I know I will attend, and that's Women in Business. I attended their fall session. That was really a phenomenal session, so if you're a woman in business in the county, I highly recommend it. That's coming up in May, so check out their website for that. That's exciting.
Right, any other committee reports? All right, board appointments, I don't believe we have any board appointments. County Administrator's report, Mr. County Administrator.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. A lot of what we've been doing is covered elsewhere on the agenda tonight, but a few items to bring to your attention. Your monthly reports on a per-department basis for the month of February are in my report beginning on page 102. As you know, there's a lot of good three-year data in there for the departments, metrics, operating statistics that just show what the functions are working on. A couple of quick project updates. As you all know, the AUG building renovation, that building has been long in need of renovation on Main Street. That's nearing completion with a potential move-in date for the Commonwealth's attorney function in April at some point. Don't hold me to that, but we're excited about that. As many of you are aware, this is kind of the culmination of a multi-phase effort that was started several years ago to rehab current facilities. And staff have been in the same footprint largely in many functions that they were in 1996 when this building was built. And many of those renovations and space improvements have enabled us to handle some of the growth needs of some of the departments without having to build a new building in an effort to save funds. So I'm grateful for the board's support on that. Pam is working, as you all are aware, on the Northeast Creek Water Treatment Plant project for their VAC system on that. I'm not a technical expert on that, but she has briefed us on it, and just want to let you all know that that project is about halfway done and going fairly smoothly now, so they're hopeful that that will be done soon. Also, my letter to you all starts on page 100 of the County Administrator's Report, and it includes a number of dates, exciting events like the Easter Extravaganza that's taking place on April the 12th at Walton Park at 10 a.m. It's very well attended every year. Please encourage your constituents to attend. And that concludes my prepared remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Goodman? All right. So next is our public hearing. We have 4 public hearings. It's 7 o'clock. There's several people here. No, we're going to take a short break. So once we start the public hearing, I don't want to have to stop the public hearing. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess before we start the public hearing. Hey.
Good.
Well, Parks and Rec said I ain't redoing it.
All right, we're all back? We're all back.
Some historical.
We'll move on to public hearings. The first public hearing, proposed real estate property tax increase for fiscal year 2026. On the tax assessment, the presentation is by Finance Director Wanda Colvin and the Assessor, Mrs. Warren.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Before we get into the assessment, I just have a quick budget update. We've got great news. The Finance Committee has met, and after making a few adjustments to revenues and expenditures, we have a recommended budget that is balanced. It is using the current tax rates. We'll continue to monitor state and federal budgets. We hopefully will know more on the state budget by the end of the month, and I'll continue to make adjustments as we get those. No decisions are needed tonight on the tax rate or the budget. Our next board meeting on April 7th will hold a public hearing for the budget, and on April 28th, that is when you'll be asked to adopt a budget and tax rates at that time. So right now, I'd like to introduce, if you don't have any questions, Terry Bourne, our county assessor, and she'll go into the assessment process for you.
Feel free to pull it down if you need.
I am vertically challenged. How's that? A little bit better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, members of county staff, and guests. Thank you all for having me here tonight. My name is Terry Bourne, Louisa County's real estate assessor. It is my privilege to be here tonight to provide some background and information about the real estate assessment process and procedures. So tonight, what I'd like to talk about is the relationship between the assessor's office and Board of Supervisors, which is separate. The separation of duties is an important part of Virginia's local government structure. The Real Estate Assessment Office is a function within the Office of the Commissioner of Revenue, who is separately elected by the county voters. The Real Estate Assessment Office is required to set the annual assessment values at 100% of fair market value per Virginia State Code. Historically, the assessment values in Louisa County have been established a little below 100% of fair market value, and we'll continue that, I'm sure. The Board of Supervisors are elected by the county's voters, but do not have any authority over the assessor's office or changing assessment values. While assessments do not fall within the board's authority, getting it right is important to all of us. The assessment office determines the reassessment value, and notices are sent out to property owners. They have already been sent out this year. It's been about a week. We have been handling our appeals so far. The assessor provides a summary of county assessment values to the Board of Supervisors for revenue computation. And the Board of Supervisors then set the tax rate annually based on public input, budget needs, and other factors. If a property owner has concerns about their reassessment value, they should contact the reassessment office. The county has an appeals process. The appeal deadline is March 28th, 2025. The reassessment office will review the assessment information and schedule a field visit with the property owner. If the property owner would like to take their appeal further, they may appeal to the Board of Equalization. If there are any concerns by the property owner about the tax rate, please contact the Board of Supervisors office. The assessor's office determines market value by analyzing recent sales and applying the sales values to surrounding or similar properties. The sales data is further stratified for areas of the county such as Lake Anna water communities, Spring Creek, commercial, industrial, and rural areas. Virginia State Code requires real estate assessments be based on market value, which are derived from the sales data. The effective data value for Louisa County is January 1st, 2025. State code requires that property values be assessed at 100% of market value, though we are typically below that 100% market value. Pertinent sales characteristics are considered, including location, sale price, square feet, home type, year built, quality, condition, and number of acres. Updated values are computed based on market values of property sales throughout the county. Occasionally, we will go outside of the county for highly unique property types. Virginia Department of Taxation validates our assessment values and analysis through the annual estimated ratio study. Our staff is out in the field and spends about 50 to 60% of their time reviewing parcels, sales verification, and reassessment of new improvements. Property owners have the right to appeal. Again, our deadline for appeal is March 28th of 2025. We encourage questions from property owners so that we can make sure that our improvement and land descriptions are correct. Making sure that our information is correct is very important to our office. The goal is to be fair and equitable. And that is it. If there are any questions from anybody, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions of Mrs. Bourne?
Mr. Chairman? I do. Ms. Bourne, do you make any differentiation between, and you may not even do these types of assessments, between a residential property and a commercial property?
So what we would do is we would analyze commercial sales for determining what values we would apply to commercial properties. And we would analyze residential sales for the values that we would apply to residential properties.
So it sounds like there might be a slight differentiation in how you make that assessment.
Yes, there should be.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. I don't think anybody, Mrs. Coble?
Thank you, Ms. Bourne. I
Great.
appreciate it. So, for the public hearing, as per code requirement of Code of Virginia, Section 58.1-3321, when the county's annual real estate assessment results in an increase of 1% or more of the total real property tax levied, the county shall reduce its tax rate in the upcoming year so that the rate is no more than 101% of the previous tax year's levies, or it may maintain its current rate after conducting a public hearing. Our current year assessed value, excluding new construction, exceeded last year's total assessed value by 8.12%. The lower tax rate would be 66.6% of a $100 assessed value. Our current rate is 72 cents for a difference of 5.4 cents. We are proposing in our budget to keep the current 72-cent rate, and we're holding the public hearing for that purpose tonight.
Thank you. All right, so I'll open the public hearing. I do have several cards. When I call your name, come to the microphone, state your name and your voting district. You'll have 3 minutes. I'll give you a 15-second warning when you have 15 seconds left. The first card is, I think it's Ed Henney. Did I get it close?
Mr. Hanging, like up Green Acres.
Oh, well. Be careful with that. I made a reference to Green Acres several years ago, and the newspaper wrote about it. Nobody was old enough to remember what Green Acres was, and they thought I was insulting, and I wasn't.
I get a lot of surprise looks. My name is Ed Haney. I'm here with the Patrick Henry District. I've been here 47 years, and I recently bought a home, and I've had property here for quite some time, but watching things grow around here and see how it feels like y'all trying to make this city, this small town, something bigger than what it should be. And I feel what's happening is it's coming down on the lower income people, the working class man, and that's myself, and I'm sure some others in here. So you say you're not raising taxes, or you raise them a little bit, and that's fine, that's good. But watching the property value go up, I haven't made improvements on my home. And there's no one been out there to come look at it. As they say, they're on the road doing this for 60% of their time. I also called recently and asked about doing that, and they pretty much said it's not really going to do you any good. So I kind of gave up on that dream. So I just want to make sure that my voice was heard, that although the taxes may look low, my property value's gone up about $140,000 in just a few years, which I budgeted for making a payment to on my house payment. And I did my due diligence and said, I'll make this much and I can afford this much. And what it's basically done is taken that away from me. So now I don't know whether I need to sell or try to get another income and another job and raise with my wife and my grandbaby. And that's, it's hitting really close to home with this. And again, I'm just going to stress that Louisa's always been a small town. Again, I grew up here. I went to school with you as a teacher, and I've seen what it's become. And I think what feels like it's trying to happen, you're trying to push out the lower class and the working man and bring in all this, I'll say it, Northern Virginia, Lake Anna people, and push us little people out. And it's obvious, and that's why there's so many people here today. So I just want to say, think about what you're doing, and think about the man that's been paying taxes here for 47, well, as long as I've been paying taxes, and the people that I'm bringing up that are going to live here as well. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you,
and
sir.
for that, the Lord said, give to Caesar's what is Caesar's, but don't be a thief about it.
Thank you, sir. Phil Winston.
Good evening, Board. My name is Phil Winston. There seems to be some confusion whether I'm in the Cuckoo District or the Mineral District. I have two pieces of paper. One says I'm in the Cuckoo District. That's where my taxes come from. The other one says I'm in the Mineral Voting District. I have a voter's card that says I'm in the Mineral District, so maybe they're trying to collect twice, Chris.
We'd love to have you, Phil.
So, I had a little eye-opening experience just recently in that, well, one, I got my assessment. That wasn't such an eye-opener because it's about what I've expected. I've now been a full-time resident of Louisa County for 10 years. We built our home in 2008 when it was completed. Everything in our home was bought in 2008. There's been no improvements to that home since 2008. The roof, the dishwasher, the refrigerator, the stove. In fact, as I go and look at properties that are for sale, my home is considered outdated. We recently, about 2 weeks ago, took a Lake Anna home tour. I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to do that. There were 7 homes on the tour and one fabulous boathouse. Of the 7 homes, 4 of them were short-term rentals. So one in particular that was quite fascinating was in a community that I'm sure Chris is familiar with in Rock Island Landing. Many homes being built quickly, big homes. About the same square footage as my home. It's waterfront home. But as we toured this home, everything, of course, is spanking new. It's just been completed, just recently sold, probably about the same selling price, big range, huge refrigerator, things of that nature. But I'd be willing to bet that my assessed value is the same as this Rock Island Landing home. Oh, by the way, in talking with the manager of this home, oh, yes, it is a short-term rental. The ladies who were with me, my wife and sister-in-laws, took the tour. I was tired. I wasn't walking anymore. And they came back and says, is it possible that this house is set up to sleep 39 people? He says, well, actually, we only advertise it at 30 people.
15 seconds.
30 people. Now, this is the comp to my house. My wife and I sleep in our house, occasionally some guests. And yet it's at the same value as a home that he's collecting in a July date. He's collecting $20,000 a week in rental on this home. These two houses are not the same, no matter how you look at it. I request that the board and the assessor's office look at making short-term rentals in a whole separate category where they are priced against each other. Am I done? By the
I
way,
gave you 15 seconds.
Thank you, I appreciate it. By the way, I did some research. There's over 20 homes in Louisa County alone, short-term rentals, that advertise that they sleep more than 20 people. More than 20. I got the feel that this sewage is going straight in the lake.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next is Julie Houston.
My name is Julie Houston. I'm Louisa District, I believe. Ellisville Drive, I believe I'm your district. First, I'd like to say thank y'all for what you do, because I know this is probably a very hard job, and it's probably pretty thankless as well. When we're talking about assessments, I know this year it's 8, and I know y'all don't control assessments, but y'all do control the tax rate, and they kind of go hand in hand. And as looking back, I kind of look back over the last 5 years, and I wasn't so appalled at the 8.12%, but when I look back to 2021, it was 5.58. 2022 was 12.16. 2023, 13.9. 2024, 7.83, and then this year, 8.12. What's shocking is over 5 years, that's 47.59%. That's, to me, it's unbelievable. And I've lived in Louisa now over 30 years, and I've always heard about affordable housing. That's all we've talked about, Fitzgerald, affordable housing. Well, my youngest daughter has got a double wide. 2 years ago, it was $200,000 for the lot, the setup, the trailer, everything. Her assessment last year was $296. This year, it's $325. This is affordable housing. So, I mean, she's in her 20s and got 3 little girls, and her assessment's that's over $2,000 in taxes. So I was looking at lots. A 1.5 acre lot in Louisa, $70,000. A 5 acre lot, closer to $90,000 to $100,000. So, I mean, I just don't see how this is going to be sustainable for these young people, and if they'll ever even be able to have a place in Louisa. But $325 for a double wide, that's just appalling. I've got 2 requests. One, that y'all lower the tax rate. And 2, I would like to request that we have town halls for the tax, the budget, regarding the budget, like Albemarle County is doing town halls. And they let their people come out and express their views and talk and listen to them what they're saying. I mean, it is their money. And I mean, I think that transparency generates trust. So if we, that would be really great if we could have some town halls and maybe some input from the citizens about, how to spend the money. And it might be a little eye-opening to see how people do want the money spent, and, wouldn't hurt to listen to that. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is
15 people.
Joseph Carries.
Pretty good. Good evening. Name is Joe Karras, Cougar District. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board, and citizens. I guess I've got a 2-pronged problem, first time to a meeting, so I guess I've got concerns about my assessment and also the Board of Supervisors and your due diligence on the complete tax burden. We heard about how much the taxes are planned to go up, trying to keep the tax rate at the same level. But I really didn't hear about what your projected new home earnings are going to be and how that will play in. I see new homes everywhere. And again, I thought the budget was going down overall, but if you want to keep your 8.12% increase, it's a deal breaker for so many of us. I'm on a fixed budget. Retired. I'm taking care of I've got a lot of medical issues, but I was comparing the numbers that I heard about assessments. My 2025 assessments went up by 11.3%. 2024, 9. 2023, 19.6. 2022, 13. 2021, 5. In 5 years, 64.6% increase. And I have construction grade stuff in my house. And again, I'm blessed with waterfront property. It's beautiful. And again, if I compare my property to my neighbors of just the building, my neighbor who's got a much more expensive house, more bedrooms, he pays 9.7% less per square foot than me. One of the county supervisors here, 37% less per square foot on a waterfront property. That prominent house on that lake of homes, he's 17% less per square foot than I pay per taxes. And again, when I look at Zillow and Trulia, just to get a comparison, I'm $150,000, assessed $150,000 more than what they say, again, a real estate agent would start as a value. So, and again, my 2025 assessed value is going to go up $131,000. With fixed income, it's getting unbearable. And again, it starts with assessment, and it's also how much we're spending. And if you could do a little more work on the due diligence to keep our taxes affordable, just truly appreciate it. I think we all would. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, you are being really challenging tonight.
The names.
Richard Magenheimer?
You got it.
Oh, there you go. That's the hardest one, and I think the only one I got right, so.
Maybe you got it right, maybe you got it wrong.
My name's Richard Magenheimer. Like one of the previous speakers, I'm not exactly sure what district I'm in. I vote in Cuckoo, but my assessment says Jackson, so I don't know if there's an error somewhere or that you divvy up the money. I'm one of those transplanted Northern Virginians who gentleman mentioned earlier. I've been down here almost 5 years. I pay a lot of taxes. I support a lot of community organizations. And I just like to say, I don't deserve anything extra, but I sure as hell don't deserve anything less than somebody who's been here for a long time. This isn't the forum to protest my valuation, and I'm not going to get into that. But I would like to just point a couple things out to the board. First of all, I'm glad we have a new assessor. The waterfront property valuation algorithms that are used don't work. It's not the same as valuing rural properties or large parcels with small houses on them and so forth. I won't get into the formula. Maybe you all are familiar with it, but it's archaic and it doesn't reflect a lot of what the real economic valuation drivers are of waterfront property, which are things like frontage. There's no consideration of how much frontage you have. The number of bedrooms. The gentleman, a few before me, spoke very eloquently about rental properties. 3 years ago, the county did a massive increase to waterfront property valuations. It was a catch-up adjustment. I would just say somebody was sleeping at the switch prior to that, and I'm sure the county forewent hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax revenues because most of the waterfront were tremendously underassessed. So a meat-ax adjustment was put in, which inherently creates inequities from one property to another. So one of the things I would ask is, especially with a new assessor on board, I think there should be, I would recommend somebody looking at bringing in an expert on waterfront property and to help change the valuation formulas. I'm not complaining and saying, we need to cut all the assessments and so forth, but it's grossly unfair and you're really missing what the true drivers of value are. One thing I want to point out about the short-term rentals is rental property these are commercial enterprises in residential zoning. Commercial real estate is primarily bought and sold on a multiple of cash flow. All right? These properties are selling at ridiculous prices, not because of they're on Lake Ann and whatnot, because they're generating hundreds of thousands of dollars, or in some cases, seven-figure rental income, and that's how they're being purchased, at 7, 8, 9 times rental income. And when you apply, and then when they take those properties, they basket them with everything else, and they say, oh, well, the properties are 100, that sold are 23%, we're 23% under assessed. Get rid of them, they're commercial. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vicki Hart.
Vicki Hart, Town of Louisa. I only have waterfront property when it rains, so. But I can tell you that since 2021, my assessment has gone up $145,000 in the Town of Louisa. Not on the lake, not near the lake, but in the Town of Louisa. And with that being said, my Social Security check went up $24. And my mortgage is now going up an additional $516 thanks to this new assessment a month. It has gone up $485 over the last 2.5 years a month for the insurance and the taxes.
Okay,
and
for the insurance
escrow.
too. Okay.
That's what I'm clarifying.
Insurance too,
It's
okay.
both, because it goes by the value of the house. So when you increase the value, guess what else goes up? So now, effectively, in a grand total of 3 years, you have raised my mortgage payment $1,000 a month, and my $24 a month Social Security increase. So thank you very much. And I did get an appraisal. The assessment is $5,000 less than what the appraisal. So it is not less than the appraised price. I just want to let you know how close it is. Thank you.
So it's close.
It's close.
Within $5,000, your appraised value to the assessed value. Is that what
Yes.
you just said? Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
This one.
James Keys.
Thank you very much for all that you guys do up here. The issue I have is accountability, and that. Sorry.
Name and voting.
I'm sorry, James Keys, Cuckoo District.
Yes, sir.
The issue I have is accountability because the neighbor 2 doors up listed their house for like 9 months at the assessed value, and it did not sell. Since it did not sell, the price, even though it came down some, doesn't make it into their calculations. So we need to have a way to either have a clawback clause that when they do sell at a lower price, they can get back what they overpaid in taxes, or somehow hold the assessor responsible, because the houses I see around that aren't selling, since there is no transaction, they don't ever get moved down. And I'll yield the rest of the time to make up for the others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all.
All right, I don't have any more cards. Is there anyone that would judge? You were first. Nope, you were first. I got to call him the way I see him.
That's my neighbor.
Yeah. He's not wearing green. Did you pinch him?
Good evening. My name is John Oliha. I'm in Cuckoo District. I had a few thoughts prepared in my mind until this session started. And the session started by, good news, we have a balanced budget. With respect, I find that incredibly disturbing and outrageous. What that means is that to build the budget, each department saw how much money was probably going to come in and decided to spend that, assuming that you would keep the same tax rate. I find that a really warped way to be looking at budgeting. You know, pardon the hyperbole, Louisa County has been swimming in new tax revenue in the last couple of years. I'll give you a radical thought. Someone mentioned it already. How about actually decreasing the tax rate? Let the new growth or the new construction, that new growth, that new revenue come in, pay for the new activity that's happening, and those of us who have been here don't have to incur that additional taxation. So if you vote for this budget, you are voting for a tax increase. I find that not acceptable. Thank you. Good
Thank
evening.
you, sir. All right. Come on up, neighbor, who didn't get the memo that it was St. Patrick's Day. You almost look like a hokey. My wife would like it.
He's got green pants on, doesn't he?
Okay.
It's all orange, it's all orange. Bruce Tenney, Cuckoo's Nest. I am one of the Lake Anna guys. My wife and I, in 2019, did a cost of living analysis, decided to move here. Thought the tax rate was pretty reasonable, cost of living was pretty reasonable. In 2019, the budget for Louisa County was $108 million. You approved a $208 million budget for this current year. That's almost a double in about 5 years, maybe 6 years here. I don't question. I'm with John on the way you ought to build a budget. I think the county should establish a budget and then let the offices build to the budget that you give them, as opposed to looking at the revenue and saying, how can we spend? What are all the great things that we should spend here? My tax rate, I do live on Lake Anna. My tax rate, I moved in here in July of 2020. My tax rate has increased 79.7% in the 4.5 years that I've been here. Now, I realize that's an assessment increase. I'm not interested in selling my home. My wife and I built what we hoped was a forever home here. But at this kind of tax rate increase, it's going to be really hard to stay here. So my request to you is reduce the rate. I don't know about the assessments. Many places it looks like they're fairly accurate in terms of market value. But I think you also need to look at potentially doing something like Henrico's done, a recap program for seniors that are on fixed incomes, right? I think that's something that this board should seriously consider. I know there's a tax relief available, an adjustment, but the numbers are really small. I mean, it's limited to $50,000 of income and $200,000 of assets. Today, that's pretty close to poverty level, I think. So my request to you is to set a budget and work to that budget, not work to the amount of revenue that you can generate out of the tax base. That's it.
Thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone else that would wish to address the board before I close public comment? Yes, sir.
Hello, thank y'all. My name's Doug McClary. I'm in the Green Springs district, and been a lifelong Louisa resident, even born in the Louisa hospital when it was there. The assessments are what they are. You know, everybody knows that houses are going up, but it is the rates. I think it's just simple math. My family, I grew up in the construction business, so I come up from my father, and Some people work on cars, motorcycles. We've always worked on homes. And we own some properties around in the Green Springs district. They're almost all in the green. We do have some in orange. We try to keep them close. They're nice homes. We got great renters. I haven't gone up on renting. Most of them pay the same rent when they moved in. They take care of the place. I try to be fair with them. They're fair with me. But like some of these other folks said, with the rate and with the new assessments and the rate, next year I'll have to pay probably about $8,000 more in taxes to Louisa County. Not counting what I'm already paying. It's getting to the point where I'm paying more money to Louisa than federal income tax. If you add personal property into it, that hurts in December, you know. And you know, I don't know how much longer I can keep taking that money, this hit, before I have to start talking to some of my renters, and a lot of them they're fixed income. A lot of them elderly people, they take care of the place. They just like the fact to call somebody when something breaks. And you know, we're not big time developers, you know. It's just, this is something that we've been doing for 35 years, you know. And so we do need a little help with the you know, the assessment, the rate, whatever we do. But it, like some of these folks have said, 50-60% increase in 5 years is a lot. You know, it's a big hit to a lot of us. And like I said, especially in December, it's a busy, you know. But I wanted to, because no one come from Green Springs, so I wanted to step up and say something. But it's anything y'all could do would certainly help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Good evening, Board of Supervisors. My name is Jordan DeAngelis with the Mountain Road Voting District. This is my first time at a Board of Supervisors meeting, so I appreciate you allowing me a chance to talk. I've been listening. I think a lot of folks made a lot of great points here, so I don't want to reiterate some of those other points that were made, and I apologize. That is my daughter, who's been very vocal. She wants to let you all know what she thinks as well.
She's been great.
You know, I just want to say, I have not been in Louisa County as long as some of these folks. I was not born here. My wife was not born here. But the fact is that we chose Louisa County to make this county our home. We chose this county to get married in. We chose this county to start our family together. You know, so to us, Louisa County is our home. Over the last several years, the assessment values have increased on these properties, and I'm not going to sit here and argue about the process of assessments. I understand there's a difference in what you know, as the slide shown, what you all have control of is the tax rate. Sounds like it's not so much the assessment value. But as far as the assessment value goes, basing it off of 100% of the market value, I understand that that's state law. But my house doesn't have a market value because my house is not on the market. As many of these folks have said, my house is not for sale. If I'm not selling my house, I'm not going to realize that assessed value. And as other folks have said, properties that are on the market are not selling for their assessed value. So I think there's flaws built into that, but again, not going to debate that here. What I do want to bring attention to is the tax rate of 72 cents per $100. I believe it was at last year's Board of Supervisor meeting discussing these tax rate potential changes or increased assessed values and what ultimately left the tax rate at 72 cents per $100. I believe it's in those minutes that says that the Board of Supervisors did not want to keep shifting the tax rate back and forth as assessed values change over time, waffling that tax rate year over year, trying to chase after something. And so I looked back, and over roughly, give or take, about 24, 25 years, the tax rate has changed up and down from between 60 2 cents and 72 cents per $100. It has changed 6 times over the last 25 years. It has been 72 cents for the last 10 years. And in that time, the assessed values have gone up, 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 up year over year. So, you know, I understand the sentiment last year, not wanting to continue to chase after, but as many of these folks have said, there's a lot of development in this county.
15 seconds.
There's been a lot of development in the county. There are new revenues, new homes, new businesses that also get tax breaks for bringing their business here. I think the value of all that should be to the citizens of this county, and they should realize that through their tax savings, if not tax savings, and at least not a tax increase.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, your baby is being great. You're doing a great job. I don't know why I'm complimenting him. You've had the baby the whole time. Do you want to speak, ma'am?
My name is Celeste Coulter. I vote in the Mountain View District. My assessment says Jackson, so take that for what it is. I'm not sure. But I moved here from Southwest Virginia in 2021. I bought my farm in Holly Grove in October of 2021. As the last gentleman said, I chose to move to Louisa. It was a place I wanted to be for multiple reasons, because of the rural nature, because of the good taxes, all of those things. It's my dream property, and I intend to spend the rest of my life there if I can afford it. So my property is comprised of a few different parcels, but the primary parcel, which my house and most of my outbuildings sit on, in the 4 years that I've been here, my property value has increased just shy of $140,000. That's a cumulative increase of 22% in that time. Yet I've made no improvements to that property aside from getting it up to date, keeping it mowed, things like that. Nothing that should change my tax assessment. But looking even at my most recent statement for 2024 to 25 assessment alone, my tax notice is showing a $49,100 jump in a year, which is just unsustainable. But for my other parcels even, and this is just vacant agricultural land, I've seen an increase of up to 38% over the time that I've been here. And the rate at which those property values are increasing, it really is unsustainable for your average resident. I make a living for myself, but I'm not raking in dough. And seeing that constantly go up, as others have mentioned, there's every single year my mortgage is going up. I'm having to chase to keep up with that. It's a constant. And if you guys have no control, as it was said, over the assessment value, and if that assessment must comply with the fair market value, then the only way for us residents to be able to afford it is a lower tax rate. So I'm respectfully requesting that the tax rate should be lowered to offset the rising assessment values, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would wish to address the board? Mr. Ware.
Amy Ware, Jackson District. Did not intend to speak, but it's a good crowd. I've been coming a while, and there's a lot of people. I'm glad to see it. But I also have rental properties, which, the gentleman that spoke about that before made a really good point that we bought a house just because for the land, fixed it up, been renting it out. My children have lived there sometimes. They also live in another property that we rent to my oldest child, who gets very, very good rent because it's very hard to live in an old, breezy farmhouse when you're 30 years old with kids. But I have a widow of a disabled veteran that passed away last year, and I rented to him. I started renting to him 2009, perhaps. And same thing. He took care of the property. I just have somebody there just to be in it. I don't want to put him out on the street. When my children were looking for homes, you debate, but how can I put this man out on the street? Well, he passed away. I'm not going to put his widow and his also disabled veteran brother, who lives there now with her, on the street. I could charge 3 times what I'm charging them for rent. I do not want to do that, but I'm along with these other people. I'm not made of money. I got 3 kids and, bills like everybody else. And it's just really hard to be that good person you want to be when the rates keep going up and up and up. And I don't know the solution. I know at one point, I don't remember, think it was you. I read that one of the board members last year had said, well, we'd rather increase it a little bit at a time. And I 100% agree with that. I told that to Bobby Johnson 20-some years ago. I'd rather you raise my tax a little bit at a time so I don't get that $5,000 every 5-year chunk. But it's also good points being made that there is income. We're looking at potentially a lot more income. Can we at least mitigate it a little bit? Make the increase a little bit less instead of just going, well, this is what the rate is. We don't want to go back and forth. At least consider it. I know it's tough. We didn't get our tax assessments till Friday. I don't know when they got mailed. My mother still hasn't got one. I can't find it online. Plan on going to the assessor's office and fixing that when I get a minute. But just consider, could we take it back a little bit? Because there are people who are in way dire straits, and we don't want to be putting people on the streets because I can't afford to be the nice landlord, right? So that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak before I close the public hearing? Anyone else? Last chance. All right, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Mrs. Banks, or Mrs. Bourne, I'm sorry, Mrs. Banks, could you come back up? I just have a question. I think I know the answer, but I made a couple notes here, but I'm going to use Mr. Winston as an example because he's my constituent and I know him. He lives in Mineral. He said his tax assessment said he was in Cuckoo. I think that's probably because, and maybe Ms. Fletcher, because of redistricting, because where he lives used to be in the Cuckoo voting district. Now it's in the Mineral, and maybe it just hasn't gotten changed. Is that the reason?
Well, it's two different things.
One's magisterial. One's magisterial.
Exactly. There's the voting district and then the magisterial district, which reflects on your real estate assessments or tax bills. They're two different.
We've removed lines, but we've not lined them up with.
Exactly.
There is
So,
Mountain Road Magisterial District.
Okay. Well, I think three
Some
people.
people had said,
So I just wanted to clarify that question, that because people.
two different things.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's so, yes, ma'am.
There have been a few people who have said that they haven't received their notices yet. I have copies in my office, and if they will reach out to me, I can email them a copy of their notice. Okay? They can come by and we can print it out too.
Are they available online?
No, they're not.
Yeah, hold on.
No, it's okay. I just want to help you out.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's not how we run the meeting. Do you mind giving out your county email?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
So it's
Just say it in the mic. Everybody can hear.
It's TBORN at Louisa County, one word, .gov.
Okay. T is in Terry, Born, BORN, at louisacounty.gov. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you. All right. Thank you all let me close the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Thank you all for coming out tonight and expressing your views. The board doesn't take any action this evening. I would mention two things that was said. People talked about, and I saw the town hall. It would be nice to have some public input on the budget. We start our budget deliberations in October, all in this room. We have budget workshops all in this room. Typically, there are two people that come to a board meeting, Ms. Purcell and Ms. Hart. And so we're here every first and third Monday. And starting in October is when we start our meetings. So we do have all of these discussions are open, transparent, in public. So I would encourage you to attend. I'm appreciative of all of you that came out this evening. And I also want to thank you. Nobody likes to pay taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes. But as always, when people from Louisa County come to speak, it's always polite, it's always respectful. You all continued that tradition tonight. We have two more public hearings on the tax rate and on the budget over the next 6 weeks. So then the board will take whatever action it determines to take. So thank you all for coming out this evening. The next public hearing is a resolution to approve or deny conditional use permit application CUP 2024-06, JW Enterprises On Demand Concrete. Here is Mr. Eglin to present.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Tom Eglin Jr. I am the Deputy Director for Louisa County's Community Development Department. Before you tonight is a request for the issuance of a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a construction yard at tax map number 24-17-A, located at the intersection of South Spotswood Trail, Route 33, and Louisa Road, Route 22. The subject property is currently being used as an automobile repair service business and is zoned General Commercial C2. The subject property is 5 acres in size, located within the Louisa Election District, and is designated rural by the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The applicant, On Demand Concrete, currently leases a 1-acre portion of the property shown on the current slide to store gravel, sand, concrete trucks, a silo, a loader, and a water truck. The applicant loads materials onto the concrete trucks. However, no concrete is mixed on site, according to the applicant. The applicant has stated that the concrete business has supplied concrete for school projects, county projects, local businesses, and others. The applicant has informed staff that the water for the business is purchased from the Louisa County Water Authority. An analysis of the proposed conditional use permit's impact on the county public facilities from both staff and the applicant is provided on pages 162, 173, and 174 of your staff packet. The proposed use would support the 2040 Comprehensive Plan goal of broadening the tax base by establishing businesses. A neighborhood meeting was held on October 9th, 2024, at which no citizens attended. The Planning Commission voted on November 14th, 2024, to defer the application in order to give the applicant time to discuss and provide buffer details. Community Development Department staff, elected and appointed official, and the applicant and Dominion Energy all met on the subject property January 24th, 2025, to discuss buffer options. The resulting agreed-upon buffer from the January on-site meeting is shown on the current slide, and detailed in Condition 4 of the conditional use permit. The Planning Commission voted on February 13th, 2025 to forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of Supervisors for the conditional use permit to allow for a construction yard at tax map number 24-17-A with 6 conditions as detailed on staff packet page 164. This completes staff's report, and I believe the applicant might be here.
Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Eglin? All right. Yes, sir. Come up here so we can hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I got some more here left for any questions and see the final answer here.
Don't have any. So far, so good. All right. Thank you. So we'll open a public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. So I open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this approval? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Mr. Woodward?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, first I'd like to say this applicant has worked really, really well with staff. There were some questions from the Battlefield folks about the buffer, and we got all of that worked out. And I've spoken numerous times with the head person with the Battlefield group, and he's okay with what's presented. So I think we're ready to move forward with this. The applicant has a wonderful business. As you can tell, he's a young man, and is trying to make a go of it. Mr. Williams may be able to share with, I think he really has a good service to the community with his concrete business. So with that, I would like to make the motion to approve condition CUP 2024-06 for JWC Enterprises LLC as presented.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we approve this conditional use permit. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. All right, next is a resolution to approve or deny conditional use permit application CUP 2024-09 and rezoning application rezoning 2024-08 Amos Equipment Repair applicant. Mr. Egan.
Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, before you tonight, a conditional use permit request for proposed equipment sales and rental business at tax map number 93-161. The subject property is 4.26 acres, zone general commercial C2, located on the south side of Jefferson Highway, Route 33 in the Jackson Election District. The second item this evening for consideration is a proffer amendment to which is rezoning 2024-08 to amend 5 of the 13 existing proffers from rezoning 1989-06. When the parcel was rezoned from agricultural to general commercial for the purpose of establishing and operating a carpet store showroom. The original proffers being adjusted by the applicant range in topics from noise, hours of operation, lighting, and landscaping, and can be found on packet pages 207 to 208. A signed and updated voluntary proffer statement with 12 proffers has been provided by the applicant this evening and can be found on pages 205 to 206 of your staff packet. The applicant, Amos Equipment Repair LLC, offers a variety of agricultural and landscaping equipment for sale as well as maintenance and repair. While the subject property is in an area the 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates as rural, staff believes this business would support the farming and residential property maintenance in the eastern portion of the county. The proposed equipment sale and rental business would address the current challenge of diminishing support systems for agricultural supplies in the county as stated in the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and is shown on the current screen. The applicant's concept plan is shown on the current slide and on page 198 of your packet proposes business operations to be conducted inside the existing structure at the front of the property as well as a proposed 8,000 square foot building towards the back of the property. The applicant and staff have both provided an analysis on page 185, 196, and 197 of your staff packet of the possible impacts from the requested conditional use permit and proffer amendment on Louisa County public facilities. A neighborhood meeting was held on January 8, 2025, which only one individual attended who expressed concern about noise and buffers from the proposed application. The applicant believes those concerns have been addressed by the proposed proffers and conditions. The Planning Commission on February 13, 2025 unanimously recommended approval of the requested conditional use permit with 8 conditions found on staff packet page 188 and the rezoning proffer amendment with 12 proffers. This completes staff's report and the applicant is here to give a presentation this evening.
Are there any questions of Ms. Reagan? All right, where's the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Ann Miller. I'm a planner with Bolzer & Associates representing the applicant this evening. Mr. Ernest Amos Jr. is also here as the applicant. First, we want to thank Mr. Eglin for his presentation and express our appreciation for all the work he and their staff members have done to help us throughout this process. We fully support the staff's assessment for the project and believe they have done an excellent job outlining the proposal. So I'm happy to go into further detail or answer any questions you may have this evening, but I'll reserve that for you all to decide.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant? Thank you, ma'am.
Perfect, thank you.
So I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on this CUP and rezoning request? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Mr. Williams?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is an anomaly zone piece of property in the district. I think it's the only piece we have in district that's zoned C2. The only other land that we have that is not zoned agricultural, A1 or A2, are small stores around. Mr. Amos currently runs a business in Goochland, does a really good job with it. I've used him to do a couple things before. We're happy to bring him here. We think the development on the back part of the property is good. It makes use of the existing building and the space and the use. We have no intention of furthering and expanding the zoning to surrounding properties, so it's already zoned that way. So I'd move that we approve the CUP as presented.
Second. Been properly moved and seconded that we approve the CUP as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, sir. Next up is it's an ordinance, I'm sorry. Ordinance to amend Louisa County Code, Chapter 62, Solid Waste, multiple sections. I'll leave it at that. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Code.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. As you can see, packet page 211 to 221, this is an update to Chapter 62 solid waste. One of the major updates is we did define commercial haulers, and with that, we modernized the definitions for residential waste. And then this should strengthen the enforcement for commercial haulers by making, if they don't abide by the rules, it'd be a Class 2 misdemeanor for violations of this section. And then also, Ms. Smith did a lot of work to bring the code up to the current code requirements. There's a lot of updates that needed to be had behind the scenes. So there's a lot of updates that were done there. And this came out of the litter work group with Supervisor Jones and Supervisor McCotter leading that up. And I stand ready to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Coon?
Yes, sir, I do, Mr. Chairman. And I don't believe that any of this was in what was changed. I think this is already existing. Under A of Section 62-34. No solid waste generated by any institution, business, or industrial establishment shall be placed in or around county-owned or authorized bulk containers. So that means that the black plastic
Where you at?
bag, sure, it's page 213.
Yeah, 6234, what
A.
number? A.
That means that my business, which almost all the paper there is shredded now, used to produce a lot of paper that went in the trash. Now it's all shredded. So what I put in the trash there is paper towels, Solo cups. We won't go into why those are used, but anyway. It's the same things that household trash produces. Why should I not be allowed to go to a dumpster that the county owns and put my trash in there? Now, more than likely, if I threw it in the back of my truck or my car and went there, nobody would ever ask. But this is saying that it's illegal for me to do that. Most of the commercial things that produce the type of trash that would cause a problem or a lot of trash have their own contract with the trash hauling business. Most of the restaurants around, most of the apartments around, you know, I'm sure they probably go in the landfill, but they're taken by a private company. So, like I said, I don't believe this is a change, but I think it needs to be, if we could look at that.
Happy to hear alternative definitions.
Mr. Goodwin?
I wonder, and this hadn't caught my eye either, and I agree with you, Supervisor Woodward. I think this probably predates everybody up here, maybe with the exception of Mr. Barnes.
27 years, babe.
Oldest and wisest and best looking.
Wisest,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Best looking.
Maybe it was a reference to containers that the county places that are outside of the refuse and recycling centers. I mean, maybe there was a different practice when this was.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Mr. Chairman?
If we could look at that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I know if I go to one of the county transfer stations with anything that appears to be business waste, I am told, do not put that in our dumpster. So this is not a change, and it is enforced at times.
Well, my experience has been, as long as it's in a trash bag, I understand what the rule says, but as long as it's in a trash bag, I don't think anybody fusses.
And I think that's
We've had to bag our shop trash at the farm shop. I mean,
Chairman.
because of that.
I know that I've talked to Mr. Goodwin before. It is enforced up in the Green Springs district. I've had farmers that have the name of their farm on their truck. They've gone with their household trash, and they've been told they needed to take it away. And I've spoken to him about this I've had numerous farmers and people who have, that they're not taking their business trash there. They're taking their personal trash, and we've kind of had to work through that. But it is enforced in some of the stations, and I don't know what a solution is for it either. I don't have one to offer.
I think, it's up to the board whether or not they want to adopt the other changes tonight and direct staff to consider an adjustment to 6234A. I think Supervisor Woodward brings up a good point. I mean, I think certainly another, perhaps people back in the day when this was first adopted were trying to bring true industrial waste and put it in the transfer stations. And so I'm sure that if we sit down and think about this for a few minutes, we can figure out a way to I run into the same thing. If I bring my farm trash in and it's not in a bag, the attendants make me do the same thing they're making your folks doing and do. And so I feel certain that we can write this in a way that allows residential style trash from a business.
Well,
You know,
obviously, we all know there's different types of businesses. And so if we can work out that verbiage in there, I'm fine. I don't want to hold this up tonight because of that.
Yes, sir.
But if we can move ahead with the thought that we're going to work on that clause.
Mr. Garland.
I just have one question in this, and I haven't gone through this thing. I just want to make sure I haven't missed it. And that is, at one point, we had talked about not allowing trailers to enter the recycle units. And I, for one, don't have a pickup truck, so I do pull my trailer there. So is there anything in this that would not allow or change that? I haven't seen it, but I just want to make sure.
I don't think it talks about the mode of transportation. On how
You'll
you
find
get
out
your
tomorrow.
That's what I'm afraid of.
I have a
That's
pickup,
what-
I'll show you.
That's what I don't do.
No, it doesn't talk about the mode of transportation and how you get it there. But Mr. Woodward brings up a good point. I've had, at Ware's Crossroads, people have painting companies throw their household trash in the back of their van on their way to work in the morning, and it says, Acme Painting, and they go, you can't. So I'm sure that staff can work that out. It's a good point. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Coon. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would wish to speak on this ordinance change? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to address.
Just approve it and get the staff to go back.
Okay. All right, I move that we approve the.
Second.
Mr. Burnham.
Just have a question.
Hey, what the hell?
Well, that is, does this have to come back?
Yes. It's going to have to
So
come back
why
as
don't-
ordinance.
Well,
If we're gonna do that-
Because you have to have a new public hearing anyway.
We'd have to have a new public hearing,
Because
so
it's too
we're
much
going to have to
change.
change part of the ordinance.
All we
but-
can do now is put it on the agenda and deal with it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why don't we just put it on the agenda to come back and deal with the whole thing one time and not vote for part of it?
Yeah, but we held the.
Yeah, well, we have a motion on the floor to approve these ordinance changes, so we're going to take a
Do
vote
what
and
you
we'll
said.
figure this
Another
out in
public
just a
hearing.
minute. Pardon? Yeah, and
It's simple.
we'll have another public hearing on, there may be something else.
They
that
may have
comes
to
out
do
of
some
this.
work on that thing. That seems like it's going to be
Yeah,
hard to.
that's not gonna be
fix
as
in the
easy as we
ordinance.
think.
Doesn't seem like easy word. We could fix it by words tonight. We'd do it, but I don't think we can. Somebody got to think about that.
Yeah, all right. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the amendments to the current ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Mr. Barnes?
They're going to get you on your trailer tomorrow.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Meeting adjourned.